Hello, everybody. It's Thursday evening. We're live on the Smart Connected group, and as ever, I have a wonderful guest for you. So it's Heenle Turner. Welcome, Heenle.
Hi, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So Heenle is she's here all the way from Southern California, which is very exciting. And we just had a chat beforehand because she actually moved from the Bay Area, which I have spent a lot of time in because my sister lived out there, down to Southern California, but she also has roots here in the UK. So we've had an amazing chat prior to this interview. I'm sure that some of that will come out during the interview itself. But Heenle is president of the All In Company. So she's a certified HR professional, and she's passionate about finding creative solutions, HR solutions to help businesses succeed. So she's obviously a specialist when it comes to recruiting, hiring, and retaining five-star employees. And these are committed candidates who share the company's values and go above and beyond to achieve results. Now, that is what all businesses want, but we all know also that there is a recruitment crisis today. And so we're going to go into all of that, the big quit, all of the issues around all of that, and what businesses can do in order to attract those amazing five-star candidates, and what people can do who are looking for work or maybe in employment already in order to work for and choose the best businesses. So lots and lots of really, really powerful issues here. So okay, let's get into it. Heenle, so good to have you here. So have
Thank
you been in
you.
recruitment your whole life, or whole adult life, I should say?
So I actually have spent the last, I would say, 12, 13, or 14 or so, yeah, right around there, years working as an HR professional. And so I've been consulting with businesses on various facets of HR. So I've been helping small businesses with their people management. I've been helping with their HR issues. I've been helping businesses in all types of industries. And now, as you said, I'm the vice president of the All In Company, and we focus on just recruiting, hiring, and retaining five-star employees.
Yeah, in any particular sector, or is it just across the board, Heenle?
It's across the board. So it's really in any industry is some industry that we can help with.
Okay, so love to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. What are the issues with recruitment today?
One of the top questions and concerns that I receive today is, where can I find these people, and how can I attract the best of the best, right? So it's a very interesting market today, and you're also, have this group of business owners who are looking to grow their team, and then on the other end, you have these these workers, these employees who are looking to find a better match. So it's almost a pretty good place to be in. You just got to find that match.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good way of putting it. And I know from my own experience, I have three girls who are in their 20s, and some of them, my older daughter in particular, and her boyfriend and her circle, they're in their sort of mid 20s, mid to late 20s.
Hmm.
So they have been through that whole thing. They've moved jobs, they've had, corporate careers and so on. And it's been really, really interesting to me to observe the fact that they really, really do care about the brand and the values of the business that they work for. And that seems to be more important and more motivating to them than the salary. Do you think that is a trend that is of today, or do you think it was always like that, but it's just greater transparency has brought that out?
I think I agree with you that people are no long so like the workforce is no longer settling either for just a paycheck. So especially the newer generation of people who are joining the workforce, like they much more want to work for an organization that they themselves are passionate about. So whether it's the work itself, the cause, or something that is just such a high interest level to the individual, they're looking for that alignment. I think a all humans, right, we all still need a level of stability,
Mhm.
but there's also a good group of people who have just joined the workforce and are not forced to just fully support themselves. So they can prioritize something like passion over the higher paycheck.
Yeah, yeah, because I think once people they've got their needs met. I mean, it's different, I think, if you're an entrepreneur and you're building something and you want to, build something over a period of time and experience an exit. I think that's very common with entrepreneurs that's different to being self-employed, freelance, or whatever. But when you are an employee, and I've been in both situations, I worked in corporate life myself for a long time. And so I know what it's like. And obviously, there is prestige, there is recognition, there is opportunity, there is quality of life. All of those things matter. There's respect. That's important, isn't it? And, that sense
Absolutely.
of collaboration, teamwork, your skill set being valued and rewarded. Um, and then there is also a sense of pride. So I know that, the last company that I worked for, I mean, I was also managing director and shareholder and, so on. And we did actually sell the business in the end. So I achieved a profitable exit myself, but I was actually employed as a managing director of that company. And I do remember that, there was a sense of pride because we were really, really recognized as being one of the top creative businesses in that area. And I think that, that is sometimes overlooked, isn't it? That, what your peers say about your business. Well, I mean, what do you think about that, Heenle?
Yeah, I think people definitely are taking that into consideration. So they're looking at, the organization's overall reputation, and it's a factor that, they're evaluating whether or not if this is the organization where I want to land, or where I want to be where I want to be. I also think people are looking for that sense of community. So, we have
Mm.
our home life and our home community with our spouse and our kids, and our animals, and then we have another community that we want to be part of, and that
Mhm.
community is your work life, right? So
Yeah.
who is the parent? The parent is the entrepreneur, is the business owner, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so we all want to be part of these communities, and as a business owner, you have to remember that this is what your goal is you want to create this community and this workplace that people want to be part of.
Very much so. And, everybody needs tribes, don't we? We're all very social creatures, aren't we? And we need to find our tribe. And I think that's it really, because there is nothing more painful than having to spend all day every day with people that we feel belong to another tribe, to put it
Absolutely.
simply.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what can businesses do then in order to attract the right people who are part of their tribe? And, because it's not easy, is it? I mean, it's not, there's no magic formula, or is there?
Yeah, so we are are finding that to attract these five-star candidates, to attract the right people to your organization, you as a business owner need to First, be very, very specific and be very transparent about what it is that you're looking for. And what you need to look for is one, you need to look for people whose core values align with your own. So, as a business owner, you need to think about what is important to you 100% of the time. So is it things like is it providing excellent service? Is it attention to detail? Is it, maverick level creativity? So what is something that you pay attention to and expect in yourself? And that needs to be in alignment with the people in your organization. Now, your tribe is getting more and more exclusive, right? Um, and two, when you're looking for specific to fill either specific roles, which is what business owners are doing most of the time, is what is it that this person is spending their time doing? So what is their responsibilities, and what does success look like in that role? So for example, we had an accounting firm that we worked with, and they were looking for bookkeepers, but you had to be very clear on what success looked like for this particular bookkeeper, and that was, you're going to be managing 15 accounts, right? And that means you're going to have to close the books for 15 accounts and support them at support this many accounts kind of in a regular cadence. And when you start being specific about what you need from the role, then you start attracting the people who like those things, who like metrics and numbers and things, and you start attracting the right people.
Yeah, that's really very, very interesting, that whole thing about specificity. And I think, obviously, I'm a marketer, so, it's specificity in marketing is very important as well. But I think in today's world, people are used to being able to pursue their individual interests, aren't they? And so they're used to specificity, if you like, in their personal lives. And so when it comes to looking for, employment, then I think probably that whole thing of it's almost like a trend of specificity and individual preference is going to come to the fore, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, Heenle, what kind of issues do you find that employers come to you with? Is there some common problems, challenges, or whatever that you're seeing right now that maybe you didn't see a few years ago? As a result of, I don't know, maybe things have changed over lockdown, the big quit, all of those kind of things. Do you think there are issues that are kind of right now issues in recruitment?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest trends that I'm seeing is that the workforce is looking for a more flexible workplace.
Mhm.
And so that can mean a number of things, but now people are looking for the flexibility from like a work from home status. They're really it's sort of interesting that people have this expectation that, well, why can't I just work from home? I can do the same job. I can produce the same results.
Mm.
And as an employer, it's you're really faced with this challenge because it's something that you really need to understand is if you can offer that type of flexibility, and are you going to be able to and then how are you going to manage the workforce remotely if it's something that you're not traditionally used to? And then it's also interesting because because people are looking for, I think now they're looking to have a blended type of life, right? So they're looking where they want to work, they want to get their work done and do it, but they also want to do it on their own time, right? So they want to be able
Mm.
to finish their work, put their kids to sleep, and then maybe they're okay with working for a couple more hours before
Mhm.
they call it a night, right? So it's a very like it's very different than your traditional, 8 to 5 away from the house work, which was kind of how it was, I want to say decades ago, but how it was 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, pre-pandemic, I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for quite a long time, like 20 years or something. So, it's a long time since I remember those days. But as I said, when my children went back into it, it was like, you know, I just remembered what it was like, and pre-pandemic, my daughter was working at Samsung. She was in tech. Her boyfriend was working at Sky TV. That's a big business as well. And they were going into work 5 days a week, and the workplace was all set up to be really good for employees, and particularly I remember like Sky. They it was just a nice environment. And I remember when I was working as well in advertising agencies, we'd go in and there was a gym and there was a subsidized restaurant and there was, gaming tables, pool tables, all sorts of things, which of course is very nice. But I mean, it was a creative environment. Then you take all of that away and everything kind of changes. And I've noticed with them, and as I said, they're millennials, they're young people, they now have the expectation that they can go into the office a couple of days a week and work at home the rest of the time. Luckily, they are working for businesses that allow them to do that. But you think, well, if I was the owners of those businesses or I was the managers within them, that's a huge adjustment, isn't it? Really?
I mean, it is, and it's, uh, you need to, if you want, I mean, it's your business, right? So you think about the entrepreneur who started the business and had a vision of what this business was going to look like, and
Yeah.
how he or she wanted to create this sense of community, right? So to your
Mm.
point, they create this beautiful work environment, right?
Yeah.
And now everybody is like, well, I'd rather just be at home. And you're like, wait a minute, I thought I was the captain.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. It's so different, and of course, the other thing is that when you have I mean, I used to run businesses as well. So, I mean, my last business, I had about 40 employees in the end, and we worked in central London. So, it was all based on the premise of, people coming into work, and we thought we were very, very flexible. So we started late. If people wanted time off to do this or do that, that was all cool. But I mean, on the whole, we expected people to be there during the week. And often they would stay late and they would do a lot of work, and sometimes they would freelance. And we thought we were being really nice by letting them freelance in the evening and use our equipment. But that was, again, just very, very different because, of course, you can keep an eye on people when they work in the same environment. You can, when they're not doing the job properly because they're right there and you can see and you can pick up on issues. We had some, people with drug issues.
Hmm.
That was inevitable really in our industry, media and central London. Well, I mean, it just happens. Um, so, you could spot all of that stuff.
Right.
But when people work at home, you know, I would imagine that actually monitoring their performance and picking up on any of those issues becomes a lot harder.
Oh,
So,
it
yeah,
must.
what can businesses do in order to overcome those challenges? This whole thing about remote working.
Yeah, I mean, remote working, it gets tricky. And be, you want to, like, first, when you have, the great thing about having 5-star employees is when you have 5-star employees, there is this, level of accountability and trust that you'll find. And when somebody is not doing what they're saying and not producing the work that that they're supposed to be doing, you see it in the work. And
Mhm.
for a lot of organizations who are fully remote, I mean, you still need to keep your company culture alive, and you still need to, you still want people to be on the same page and have the common goals of, this is why we're here, right? We're here to do the work. And then, and that's, and sharing, why that's important. And so, you can institute things where every meeting that you have, require people to be on camera, right? Require people to report daily on on things that they're working on for the day, and things that they achieved the previous day. I've seen it where um, people are 100% remote, but they're still sitting on their desk, like live on camera with each other, with the whole team working, so that the team can, if there's a
Mm.
question that comes up for one person, we don't have to jump on a call or send a Slack message. We can ask the question. So you're still, it's just a virtual team. So there's kind of some ideas there that maybe will help with the with making sure your employees are helping them stay on track.
Yeah, and I think that is, that's a really interesting concept because, of course, there is this thing about you don't want to be too controlling. Of course, nobody wants people, if you hire these amazing people, you don't want them to feel as though you're the kind of horrible parent, really, right? But at the same time, you don't want them, to be paying them just for them to be looking after their children and doing their housework and,
Mm-hmm.
not doing anything that you want them to do or doing it to the minimum or that they have to. And I think that is the challenge of remote teams. And I've had myself. I work in teams. I have partners and I have assistants and so on. And I have assistants that I have incredible kind of trust with, who are very, very accountable. And we've established this accountability system, and we work on Trello and all the rest of it. And then I've had other people that I've worked with who, I just know that, that they are not really, fully engaged, let's just say. And I suppose, I really love this concept about five-star employees, because I suppose in a way part of your recruitment process is actually weeding out the people who really their priorities and values lie outside the workplace. They're not necessarily looking for, a fantastic opportunity, and they're not really ambitious people. Whereas I would imagine five-star employees are people who they are really looking for an opportunity, and they're looking for a home, and they are committed. Would you say that kind of defines them, or is there anything else that you would say defines one of those five-star employees?
Sure. Yeah. So there's 5 criteria that we have for a 5-star employee. So the
Yeah.
first one is that the core values align with the business owner. The second one is that the person um, meets the standards for the 11 universal qualities of 5-star employees.
Okay.
So the 11 universal qualities are that the person is supportive, they're collaborative, they're proactive, they're limber, and they complete the tasks and achieve the goals that that's set for them, right? That they set for themselves. Both of those, really. 5-star employees produce the results that they need to, and they listen, they communicate their thoughts, they're open to feedback, and they just love to learn, right? So these are your 11 universal qualities. And so
Mm.
and that's really just the second star. And so the third star is these 5-star employees, they need to have the aptitudes that are necessary for the role. So every role in your organization should have clear aptitudes defined. And so when you're out looking for people, you're looking for, what you're looking for. You're looking for the people with these specific aptitudes. They also need to meet your success metrics. So a 5-star employee knows that they have to support 15 clients. They know they have to, close 40 new sales for your organization, or they know they have to create, 10 new marketing campaigns a week, and then they do that, right? They actually do it. And then finally, they produce that return for you. So they should be giving you a 3x return on their payroll.
Yeah. So I mean, that all sounds absolutely fantastic, but how can you assess whether, some our people are actually going to do that, because everybody puts their best foot forward, right?
Right. Yes. And so we definitely have an evaluation like system, and that's what we do is we work with businesses to customize this process and to set up a sort of simple scorecard and such for you and for the business owner, so they can really focus and be deliberate with their recruitment in finding these 5-star employees.
Yeah. Um, so what do you think, Heenle, about psychometric testing? Is there a place for that? Is it very important? Is it outdated? I mean, what's your view on that?
Yeah, so like some type of like we'll use we recommend using an assessment. So like we use an assessment in the recruitment process to filter out people who who are to filter out people who are not qualified for the role,
Hmm.
right? And so you have to use this. You can use these kind of assessments to set up a benchmark against to set up a benchmark and then test people against that benchmark. And it's going to be a combination of how good people are with their shapes and their numbers and their if they're a checklist person, if they're organized, if they're outgoing, like just different areas that they now have very like sophisticated assessments for that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that stuff makes a difference.
Well, it does, I suppose, because I mean, everybody knows, and we talk about this in entrepreneurial circles as well, that when you partner with somebody, essentially you're creating a team. So
Hmm.
really, you're looking for people with complementary skill sets to your own, and that you may gravitate towards somebody with a similar skill set because they kind of tend to behave in the same way, and so that familiarity thing feels good. But when you actually come to work with them, and I've experienced this at firsthand, not really through me because I kind of knew this, but I've seen this with other people, that unless you actually do something different when you're working in a team, what happens is you kind of, you end up clashing with one another. So I think that kind of skill set thing must be really important to evaluate, and because you're really, you're putting together a dream team in a way, aren't you? With
Right.
recruitment. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and you like when in the recruitment process, we also want to your point is to test a skill. So
mm,
like a big like pitfall I see in the recruitment, in a lot of recruitment strategies is people are not taking the time to test the candidates, and so
mhm,
against what they actually will be doing,
mhm,
and so then that doesn't yield the results you want, because of course if I'm in an interview, I'm going to say what I need to say, right,
mhm.
just to get the job, right? So but if
Yeah.
you actually test them and objectively evaluate candidates, then you're much more likely to find that match, to find that 5-star candidate.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, really, really fascinating discussion. I mean, I'm just thinking back to my own experience because I remember, when I was young, I jumped about a bit. I definitely hopped, so I was working freelance for a while. Then I went into advertising and marketing and TV and media. And every single role that I acquired was really through my network. And I did try very hard with recruitment consultants at certain times, and I never really got anywhere because I didn't have the classic path. But what I
Mm-hmm.
did have was I had a more eclectic background, and in over time, that actually made me more valuable than people that had had a more linear path in a way. Um, but do you think that, the recruitment industry of today, because obviously I'm quite old, so this is quite a long time ago. Do you think that there is more room today for people with more eclectic backgrounds, maybe people who've had career breaks for a certain reason or have had maybe personal things that have happened to them that have meant that they have a gap in their career history? Do you think there's more tolerance and more openness towards that diversity today?
I think there is. I think a lot. I think people today, I think now more than ever, is that business owners, hopefully are also realizing, we can't just rely on a resume, and we can't just rely on the experience. Like, we encourage our clients to spend more time with candidates to get to know and understand the person. And then there's lots of times, lots of opportunities now, that is perfect for that, that mom who's trying to get back into the workforce and who's had a break for 10 or 15 years raising their kids. It's just that the we just need to help people realize that they actually maybe don't need. What is it that they need? Is they just need someone who's dedicated and has this skill set, and that might be an untapped market, is these, like, the moms who are coming back into the workforce, people with a break, people who realize that I'm taking a shift, and especially with so much experience. Like, there's so much value in experience that you just don't gain from simply having a college degree. And so
Yeah.
you really got, so as a business owner, and the wave of entrepreneurs that are coming into the business world today, I think they realize that.
Yeah, I think so, yes. Heenle, what I really wanted to talk about as well is this whole issue of the big quit. And we were talking about that, just before we came on air. It's a real big issue, isn't it, today, that employees are leaving organizations in droves to start up their own businesses. And I was telling you about some of my clients because my clients are entrepreneurs. They come to me because they want to start a business, launch a business, or scale their business. I mean, that's really, the people that I serve. And I was saying that some of my clients are, they are in employment and they've got no desire to leave their employment because their employment is actually very, very good. It's very fulfilling. It's very well paid. And they've worked very hard and often have really good qualifications that have cost them a lot of money, doctors, surgeons, engineers, and so on. But they have an unmet need in terms of an idea or something that they feel could maybe enrich their, professional career and maybe make them a little bit of money along the way. So, how do I suppose the question is, how do organizations, cope with this kind of, this instinct and this urge and all of the, whatever's out there about, living your best life and, starting a business and all of that stuff that people see on social media. It has changed massively, hasn't it, from, 20 years ago, say. Um, how do organizations actually cope with that thing about the big quit and, the different messages that people are getting?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, what kind of what transpires in media and then in social media to
Mhm.
give this impression that everybody is leaving their jobs, and it's time to panic, and I do see that people are not are have been leaving their jobs, maybe to for flexibility, for because they wanted to continue to work from home. But the people who are the organizations that are not seeing this type of jump are the organizations who allow their employees, the flexibility, the creativity, and the platform to continue to grow and continue to explore these different areas, right? So if I want to start a news, like a social media channel, and I'm allowed to do that, and I have support for that, that makes me so much more loyal to an organization
Yeah.
versus one that is restrictive and maybe doesn't and is not comfortable with that, right? So like people, you have to kind of go back to the basics. Like you as a business owner and as a leader in an organization, you're always responsible to lift people up. And yes, you need to be aware of your bottom line, but you have to also understand that you need people to grow with you so they become your future leaders, and that means you're going to lift them up and not kind of push them down. And so like in our organizations, and like we're not finding a lot of people leaving for and even in a lot of the clients that we work with, like I see the news and I see the trend and I see that, but when I go back and talk to people, and a lot of the people in our circles, it's not that many people leaving. It's the five-star employees, the people who have been there, the ones that are loyal, the ones who receive the flexibility and support that they need. Like they're happy, they're good. And so I would, challenge the business owner who may be experiencing something like people leaving their organization, is to think of like any other problem. Okay, well, what can I do differently, right? What do I need to think about, so we can kind of solve this problem and again move forward.
Yeah, and a lot of it, as I was listening to you talk, I just thought, well, this is about culture, isn't it? Really,
It it,
um,
it probably is,
and about
yeah.
leadership.
It is, yeah, and then it is difficult. I mean, it's going back to. I mean, we can't blame everything on the pandemic, but going back to the working from home, it is difficult to manage people remotely if you don't know how to do so. So a lot of folks, like so many people, were at in an office, a physical office, and then you think about how many of those managers were just promoted to manager because they were the best in their department, but they maybe were never taught how to manage other humans. And then you throw the pandemic in it, that, oh, now you have to manage people remotely, and it's just this like chaos, right? So it's a very interesting like progression that gets us to where we are today, where people are don't want to put up with it. They want to stay at home with the type of flexibility that they've experienced over the last couple of years, and they also had an idea of a problem to solve, and they want to have the flexibility and the they want to have the support to be able to try to solve that problem.
Well, true, but people give up a lot when they leave employment and they choose the path of entrepreneurship. And I think people,
And it's hard.
oh, it's really hard,
It's really hard, and I don't think
Yeah.
people realize that. When and here in the U.S. especially, and I'm sure it is how it everywhere. You become a business. You have certain things that you need to do and register, and what kind of business are you, and your taxes, and do you need insurance, and do you need a website? Who's going to create your website? Who's going to do your accounting and finances? I mean, all these different things that you have to consider. It's unfortunately not as simple as one product that I want to create. There's more to it, right? And so we want to see that people be successful, But we also want people to realize it's not as easy as you think.
No, I mean, it really isn't, and I think obviously I've been through that transition, myself, as I said. I was, running a business where anything that I wanted done, I would just hand it off to somebody else. That was my job, my job was to run the business, so it's like, "Oh, we need this, you do that. Oh, we need that, you do that,"
Brilliant.
and so on. Yeah, I mean, look, it's pretty good, and I remember I used to think, this is quite a nice job really, because all I have to do is just tell other people what to do.
But you had the
Um,
right people.
yeah, the right people, yes, exactly. Well, I mean, it worked because, as I said, we grew the business very fast and then sold it, so that was really good news. But, having exited that business, actually coming down to earth with a bump, and it's like, "Do you know what? There's nobody there," "There's nobody there. There's all these things that need doing." And I think this is really, the thing that people really struggle with in the early days of having a business, that you have to learn a whole new set of skills. You have to learn how to partner, you have to learn how to joint venture, you have to learn how to hire people remotely. And, sometimes if you're on a limited budget in other parts of the world where, it's the labor costs are a lot cheaper and the cost of living is a lot lower, and somehow manage those kind of, communications and culture across borders and all of those kind of things. And as I said, my clients who are still in employment, I sometimes think, you know what, you've got the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. Right, because you've got the income and the consistency, and you're doing what you want to be doing, and plus you're solving a problem that you think that's probably going to be very helpful in your
Yes,
industry.
exactly. So I was talking about, my client that's a surgeon who's got a couple of products that are, they will benefit his business, or his livelihood, I would say, his career as a surgeon. But they will also benefit, him personally if they take off. So that's fantastic. One of my other clients who's an engineer, and he's got, very passionate about mindset and all of those kind of things. So, there is a way that they can kind of bridge their interests and run them alongside their corporate career. But on the other hand, obviously, I know people that say, my life started when I left the job and I could
Mm-hmm.
finally devote all of my time to my business. And I suppose in a way it's just life, isn't it? Life moves on. There's a time, there's an era for certain things, and there's an era for other things. And, I guess the thing about our lives today is that we have a choice, don't we? Most of us do have a choice. We can choose maybe the hardship or the excitement, or both really, of kind of going it alone, or we can choose the relative security, but the incredible hard work of running a high level career and starting a business alongside, or we can throw all of our eggs into the, career and professional kind of basket and just make that our mission and our purpose. And, none of them is better than the other, really. It's just all about life, isn't it? Really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean it's right. It's life. It's decisions that we as part of like mankind have to make every day, and those are some of the tough ones because people have great ideas, and but to take that idea and to make the product or make it happen is it's a risky one, right? But it's such a rewarding one as well. So definitely one decision, one day at a time, and that's all we can do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, Heenle, it's been such a fascinating conversation with you tonight. I really have enjoyed it. So tell us more about how we can get in touch with you, how our viewers and listeners can find you, how they can find out more about your business, anything that you have as a giveaway or promotion or anything like that. Yeah, over to you.
Sure, yeah, no problem. So one is If you want to, for your listeners, I've put together this quick litmus test. So if you want to check it out and score your best and worst employee against our 11 universal qualities of 5-star employees, you can do that at 5staremployees.com/hire right, and I'll give that to you, Jane. You can put it in the show notes, and
Will
you
do.
can also add my email address, and I would, love to help and talk to any one of your listeners with their recruiting and hiring needs.
Okay, that sounds great. So that's amazing. We'll put those resources in the show notes. But once again, I just wanted to thank you for joining us today, Heenle, and for such a fascinating and wonderful discussion. All the way from Southern California. So very exciting. Isn't it amazing, really, that I'm here in London? It's the evening in London. It's the morning in well, you're Orange County, aren't you? So you're just outside LA. But it's really fantastic that we can have a conversation like this. And when the podcast is released, I was talking about the viewers, the listeners and viewers that we have in across the world, that this is accessed in so many different countries, and I see that through the stats and so on. So yeah, fantastic to have you here, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Okay, bye for now.